Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever, whenever that you may be tuning in. This is Yonks, and this is yet another office hours for my IRA fund. It's actually our second office hours today. And the reason for that is that we are leaning fast and hard into creating an MVP. No, not most valuable player, minimum viable product for our ecosystem. And our office hours here, this is a templated agenda within our Google Docs. And always want to talk about our Feld culture, fun, earning, learning, and giving. And scrolling down to the agenda and timeline, I only have one thing that I want to focus on here during today's office hours is wanting to use Venice AI to draft a founding member agreement. And before we roll up our sleeves and start that off, want to give the opportunity to get any feedback from Mike and or I am Lotus as far as what we should talk about during today's My IRA office hours.
Where did we left off earlier? Is this a continuation?
Well, yeah, we could actually, and I don't know if you saw, but I did forward, and that's something that we could absolutely go to take a look at is the review. And what that was, in my opinion, the biggest continuation thing, because wanting to just check off some deliverables as far as creating where we can start onboarding members, founding members into our alpha phase here. Right now, we're in pre-launch, which isn't even on this. We're wanting to start onboarding the first founding members. I'm planning on being the first founding member. And then this is one of the things that we've got as a deliverable is the founding member agreement. So anyway, we could take a look and review the AI from Fathom earlier today, if that would be helpful. What do you think, Mike, or
Sure.
I am Lotus?
Yeah.
All right, so let me bring that open here. I actually have it on screen already, so let me make this bigger here. So let me collapse this. Okay. So we use Fathom Video AI Note Taker, and this is the premium here of that we have, and it does a great job summarizing. So action items. So this is something scheduling the additional. This is one of the outcomes of the additional office hours for this week. And the plan is to have at 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern time here this week. And I'm just going to commit to doing 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. here this week because really wanting, I think that we can have our minimum viable product where we can start onboarding. And this is one of the things that we're wanting to document. But anyway, draft the founding member agreement. So this was actually one of the action items that wanting to work on here. And this is something that you both, I am Lotus and Mike spoke about as far as just to create some checklists within your own mind as far as the list of projects and what that would look like as far as a financial responsibility. Like with my IRA fund during this alpha phase over here, this is something that we're planning to be a $197. And this is something that will likely be USDC until we get our We Own US stablecoin created, and then we'll flip the switch where this would be the ecosystem stablecoin. But that's the only initial financial requirement. We are wanting to also include within our founding member agreement within 6 months of onboarding as a founding member that you will also invest $5,000 into my IRA fund as far as the project, and then also bring over 5K into your own IRA agency. And basically, what would happen if you weren't able to fulfill that, that would negate your founding member slot, and that would open up to another somebody else to come in as a founding member. And this is something that will likely create a wait list for once we get to this limit before we decide to go to the beta phase, because it will be a collective decision here using some decided upon quorum to go from the alpha phase to the beta phase. So like right now, we're in the pre-launch here where we're working on getting these checkboxes for what we need to have for the user journey to onboard a founding member. So anyway, going back to the summary. So this is something I have an action item, and I'm going to see how much I can work on getting this done between now and this evening at 11 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Mountain, our AiAgents.Box office hours for tonight. So this has got some of the takeaways, business plan development. That's going to be an ongoing conversation. And as I mentioned, the big thing that we need to do with the business plan is that's a requirement that we need to have done before we start onboarding investment dollars into myIRA.Fund, the project. And I don't believe that we need to have a completed business plan before we flip the switch to go from pre-launch into this alpha phase where we can start onboarding. And the goal really, I believe, is to create a webinar sort of dynamic. And this is something that we'll also have some other strategies surrounding building out our ecosystem, but largely we'll be using a webinar strategy because we're not going to be limiting this 100 members to be like residents of Colorado, for example. This is going to be something that people will have to be a U.S. citizen where it makes sense for them to take advantage of the myIRA agency. So anyway, going back to talked about our takeaways, business plan development, technical infrastructure, and there's some side conversations happening, especially around the KYC and the account abstraction, founder member strategy, marketing, onboarding, next steps. So let's look at the next steps. So going back here, finalize founding member agreement and onboarding process, refine business plan, develop clear user journey across pre-launch. And I'm not going to say that we need to define a user journey for pre-launch because we'll be flipping the switch here this week, I'm sure, to go from pre-launch to the alpha phase where we can begin onboarding members through an established workflow. Let's see, create documentation for safe multi-sig wallet structure and key management. And this is something that planning to use account abstraction where that will fulfill the key management, and explore partnerships or solutions for legal custodian requirements. And this is something that we're planning to have these conversations around. We own legal. Schedule and prepare myIRA.Fund pitch and webinar, continue twice daily to expedite. So yeah, I absolutely love the summaries that Fathom does, and you can see why here. But yeah, so that's what we covered during earlier today's office hours.
Sweet.
So anyway, besides working now on the founding member agreement, was there anything else that we wanted to talk about before going on to that element? Got anything from your end, I am Lotus?
Uh, I'm gonna go on my own deep dive, and then I'll probably have to ask you a few questions. There's just some things that are, on my end, just applies to me, I guess. That's why I need to evaluate uh, what I can participate in and what I cannot. So, but
Sure.
I'll talk to you uh, one on one
Yeah,
on that.
and to be clear, the on-chain ambassador opportunity to promote our ecosystem will absolutely exist, whether somebody decides to onboard as a founding member here or not. So that opportunity will still exist. And this is something that, as I mentioned earlier today, we're going to guard fairly well as far as not just amplifying on-chain ambassador to it's really people that are like more the core team that are showing up that really understand what we're building. And the main reason for that is we're wanting to create like some sort of educational workflow, so where we can have more of like a product ecosystem certification process. Have no idea what that will be. That's likely going to be efforts that I'll be spending cycles on in quarter 3 of 2025. So, and that's where, just we have to focus on where we can get the best results. And that's one of the reasons that I'm personally interested in focusing on creating workflow for our on-chain ambassadors, because I really believe that that's who's going to grow the ecosystem and like really onboard when we're ready to go to a launch phase. That's how we're going to go from a thousand members to 100,000 members, is through our on-chain ambassador framework that we build out.
Cool.
I think
All
when
right.
you were
Yes, what was
gone,
that?
I think when you were gone, me and Ernest was discussing when he put out the business plan, and I guess what we talked about during that time, I just want to verify if that's the direction we're heading. But that, I'll talk to you one on one on that one, because I want to know if I uh, fit in the scenario. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, would love to better understand, because my main goal is to simplify things, because that's where it can avoid confusion. So anyway, going to Venice, I think I might be signed in already to look at the founding member agreement. So this is currently set to use DeepSeek. So let's just create something simple here. Uh, Please generate a founding member agreement in plain English. This should be no longer than a single page. So we'll let it do its thing here and come back to this here momentarily. Let's see. So encrypt and share this conversation. I'll throw this in. Let's put it in here in our. So today, during today's myIRA.fund office hours number 19, we created a draft founding member agreement link. Oh, link to that conversation. And I'll just throw that in there and just copy this. And for now, I'm just going to put this as a subtab here. Rename. Founding member agreement. So let's make this, didn't copy and paste too well here, but I can clean this up later. And I don't know, this looks like a little bit longer. This looks like a 2-page. I think that can get this down to 1 page is the goal, and I will see if can get this down to 1 page. So let's copy a link to this tab. Put this in here too. Check this off. Link. Subtab. Okay, cool. Well, that's a start. And yeah, this is a pretty templated document. And the goal is to do this via ETH sign. And have you used it? Have you used ETH sign before, I am Lotus? Have we used that for anything?
Yes, we did. And I even shared that with a few of my Web3 groups, and they were thankful I knew about it.
Yeah, no, and it's basically for those people that are more familiar with DocuSign, it's basically like an on-chain version of DocuSign. And the thing that's more fabulous about it, I don't know if it's positioned as a public good, but it basically only has to use some transaction costs, which are pennies, compared to like DocuSign. In order to have a lot of functionality with DocuSign, you really need to have a um, paid subscription with DocuSign, and it does a pretty good job. We use that here related to my IRA fund. We actually signed the bylaws, and this is one of the things that I need to uh, do too, is create a couple proposals that I've been talking about. But anyway, going back here, so I'm going to get this founding member agreement cleaned up, shortened, and stuff like that. Maybe take some stuff out and whatnot, again, to try to make it a more simple document. Because the biggest thing that wanting to do is we're wanting to onboard the right people here during this very important phase. And one of the things that we're wanting to really do with the way that we're structuring this is onboard people that can actually participate with their own capital in the myIRA agency, so that we can really work on getting a fabulous product refined as we look to onboard the next 1,000 members, continue to iterate on our product and really amplify. And over here is really where we're looking to create an amazing UX and UI. And this is one of the things that I've talked about from a product standpoint. Would really like to see this where we have a dynamic for club members that's at a lower price point, because when you talk about like only investing $100 a month maybe into an investment club, if you have to pay $200 a year, it's really impossible to get a decent return if you're using that much as far as overhead. So this is a product more geared for, a decent amount of capital. And a decent amount of capital, the average IRA balance is 194,000, and that's one of the things that we're wanting to create, again, on-chain solutions for. So let me look here at our other deliverables that we've got on this. So I added some more branding stuff, and so this is something that worked on here. I'm going to actually add this as a subtab too. Um, Copy link. Yeah. Yeah, did you have a thought there, Mike?
Nope, I'm good.
Cool. Sub tab.
I thought I was putting my lid on my coffee before I knocked it over.
So this is underway. All right, let's see. Checkout process. Checkout process works. Live stream. So this is something I was planning to onboard on Super Bowl Sunday, but when I started unpacking, like, this is something that I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to put a comment here. Live stream for Yonks to onboard as founding member number 1. And I'm going to put this as a comment. Postponed to work to set up best practices as an individual, i.e. IRA.Yonks.eth as a separate new on-chain account. As far as other things, what other things do you think we would need, either Mike or I Am Lotus, that we haven't done for, like, as far as a workflow standpoint for onboarding our founding members?
You have the webinar in there, right? Somewhere.
Let me see where I have webinar. I'm not seeing it on this page. So let's see. I'll just add it as a create a pitch deck, or let's actually do this. Let's call it expand the pitch deck to be used for a webinar. And this is something too that we may want to think about, because I'm not sure, like, because right now we've got this workflow where I really want to, and I would prefer not to have to do this one-on-one with people. So this is something that, like, I would rather take myself out of the loop and more move this. And I'm going to actually add it here. Perhaps move this to a webinar instead of a one-on-one conversation. And I'm going to just put not perhaps. So yeah, expand the pitch deck to be used for a webinar, and because most pitches normally need to be like 5 to 7 minutes. The opportunity to do a deeper dive in a webinar, where we could do like a 15 to 20 minute with like a 5 minutes Q&A. And then the goal would be to just, potentially set up the webinar on replay. Now, whether and this is something, the goal would be to teach the on-chain ambassadors how to host their own webinar, but I have no problem promoting to people at large, because the biggest goal that I have is to onboard the first 100 founding members into my IRA fund. But yeah, so webinar, what else, Mike or I am Lotus, do we really need as far as some things here during the pre-launch and or during the launch phase? Because I don't think that we have like this pitch deck. I don't think that this needs to be finalized before we can start onboarding founding members. Any thoughts? And I'm going to actually update this target this week, which is 2025 week 7 for my ISO geeks out here. This is the ISO week number format. One thing that we did talk about, and I'm going to go back to this real quick in the Telegram. We talked a little bit about the what was it, injective hackathon, and that was something that we talked about last night when you weren't on, Mike, the AI agents, and whether it makes sense to submit a project, the things, and there's 20 days left for submission, 100K prize pool. The big question is, does injective, which is a layer 1 blockchain, make sense? I also like to view this as a potential marketing opportunity to get some additional exposure for our project. Not sure, like I said, if it makes sense, like looking at the submission requirements. And the demo video is actually optional. Projects submitted to other hackathons or challenges need to be disclosed in the submission or README of the project. So this is a thought. We don't have to make a decision on this. This is something that we'll kind of bounce in and out of. It's something that I'm still toying with. I think that it may make sense to, because like when I was looking at a join a team, like it looks like that there's only one team that has an opportunity to join a team. So this is again something that we could potentially get contributors for this hackathon. But again, something to think about. I'll send you a this, Mike, so it's not lost here on this Zoom conversation. But that was something that we talked about last night that's open for consideration. Let's see. Oh, and here's another attend a webinar. And I'm going to change this right here. Attend a webinar hosted by Yonks. Join as a founding member. This includes ETH sign.xyz of founding member agreements. And I'm not sure what this workflow will look like. This is something that not as concerned about automating here during this first phase. It's a little very different scale, thinking about automating a process when we're only looking to onboard 100 people versus onboarding 1,000. Definitely would like to explore workflow automation. But this right now is something that I believe can be very easily handled manually. But yeah, the target is to get the initial process where we can start onboarding founding members, and then like maybe next week and maybe even during some of this week's office hours, we can allocate some time. And sometimes I tend to feel that a lot of the times, at least for myself, I tend to work better on creating something like a pitch deck just asynchronously and then getting feedback, similar to like what was done with the business plan here that happened this last week. I'm really looking forward to unpacking the business plan that you all collaborated on here while Tyler and I were on holiday this past week. But anyway, I'm going to stop talking and get some thoughts from I am Lotus and you, Mike, as far as what else that we can discuss during. I got done drafting the founding member agreement here. I may move this to a separate document just to track, because this document here is pretty unwieldy. And I think it probably makes sense to be in a separate document, and then you also get version control just from that separate document. So that's going to be an action item. But on that note, I'm going to stop talking and let you all chime in some thoughts here for the conclusion of our office hours here today. Well, I don't see anybody's mic opening. So on that note, I guess.
Sorry, I was going to ask you, when should we plan on signing that documentation?
After we get a collectively agreed upon member agreement, and then this is something where gonna work on, like I said, cleaning that up. But we can come back on either tonight. We'll be back in 4 hours and some change for AiAgents.Box. One of the things I'm going to work on between now and then is the blog post for AiAgents.Box, because that's really, I think, the main catalyst for inviting people into the AiAgents.Box community. And it'll be interesting to see how that community evolves. But yeah, the founding member agreement, like we've got an initial draft here. Like I said, I'm going to pull this out into its own document and clean it up, and then add some of like I may even incorporate the tokenomics within this. And when I'm talking tokenomics, this is let me do a search on Telegram and for those people that aren't familiar, tokenomics is a truncation of token economics. And this is the Telegram post that did whatever this was on January 25th. Let me make this bigger. So I'll probably include a reference to the tokenomics here within the founding member agreement, because that's also, I think, worthwhile information. But after we get an agreed upon a founding member agreement that I like, because this is obviously like copy and paste from DeepSeek, want to get that customized for what we're doing, and then get that in a nice PDF that we can use to template, or not necessarily template. And let me look real quick on, because I know that eSign has some templates. Explore templates.
Just, Jason, after you clean it up, just send us a link so we can review it after we get together and before we get together and discuss.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll put in the link in Telegram in the myIRA fund as soon as I get the founding member agreement draft document, like the official one, not just this sub-tab. But I'm not seeing, and this is something that may, well, I don't want to create a template, but yeah, wanting this, because there's going to be some nuances around this. Like I said, I think that it would be good to include the tokenomics, because the more clear that we can, because one of the expectations that we're putting forward within the founding member agreement is to onboard as an investor into the project, the 5K, and then also bringing over 5K of value for participating in somebody's own IRA agency, which, and this is something, what that will look like here for this first alpha and beta phase, is the plan is just to use the safe multi-sig wallet that will fulfill, and this provides quite a bit of capabilities, like looking at the multi-sig for myIRA.Fund. Here's some of the dApps, and let me just explore. But anyway, we've already looked at this before. Getting back, any other thoughts on our office hours from you, Mike, or I am Lotus here today?
Nope, all good.
We're good. See you later.
All right, sounds good. And like I said, we'll be back for those that want to participate in AiAgents.Box here in about 4 hours, 11 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Mountain. And I'll be getting, if I don't have that event created, I don't think I do on Luma. That's the first thing I'll be doing when we wrap up our office hours here today. But all right, thanks everybody. We'll be back. Like I said, wanting to get our MVP so that we can flip the switch to alpha phase 0 for myIRA.Fund here this week. And I think that that's very realistic.
Awesome.